welcome to Guitar Whisperer Headquarters, where today we have a Strat. It's not an actual Fender. Looks cool though. Photo flame on the front. Maybe a thin veneer. Nice colour though. Another orange guitar. Incidentally, this belongs to a member of the excellent local band, the Meritones. I had Billy from the Meritones' Hagstrom in recently to have a new pickup fitted to it, and this guitar also belongs to a member of the band. So yeah, there we go. All fairly normal up to this point here, and then look at the neck. It says Fender. It's not a Fender, but that's fine. But yeah, look at this. Crazy grain. I don't know if that's an effect that's been applied or it's a natural part of the wood. Who knows? Kind of eye-catching. And the back. Also, crazy grain going on there, and it's difficult to see in this light. The power bits are a sort of pinky orange, orangey pink, that sort of colour anyway. The neck plate has the name Phil on there, as do the tuners. So Phil, whoever you are, I salute you for putting mad looking stripy necks on guitars. Unfortunately, you can probably see the gap there, the super stripy neck is not very well attached to the guitar. I don't know how this has happened, but it has. So we're going to sort that. It's kind of unfinished, this neck. Feels a bit dry, and could possibly do the little bit of sanding, and the fret ends are kind of sharp, too sharp. The frets themselves are actually pretty level, which is good. So what we're going to do is take the neck off, give it a light sanding, put a few coats of oil on, this one, plug the existing screw holes, re-drill them, and then put it all back together and give it a setup obviously as well, new strings, that sort of thing. And then this thing will be in a whole different place. Let's get these strings off then. With the availability of cheap, well, necks, bodies, parts, pickups, anything you want really, you can get all this stuff, not top of the range stuff obviously, but you can get it all pretty cheap off of Tinternet, and then screw it all together and you've got a custom guitar. And you see a lot of things like this on Facebook Marketplace and eBay, and they all say custom belt guitar, and I mean the parts are fine, they're not, you know, gonna be super duper top of the range stuff obviously, and they all work generally. The skill though comes into bolting it all together properly and then doing the setup. And unfortunately these are often skills that the people who are doing the assembly don't possess. So if you do pick up one of these things and you No, because you can get them pretty cheap. Hello, Noodle. And it doesn't play like it should. Bring it over here or something, I can get it going for you. It's a bit like buying stuff from Temu and AliExpress and places like that. You know, you can get a Les Paul for 150 quid or whatever, and they look amazing. All the bits are there, but they're generally not assembled very well. And if you're willing to pay me to take it apart and put it back together again, you can get something really nice at the end. I'm not discussing copyright reasons or anything like that, but purely on the quality of the bits. Right, so we'll get the strings off, we'll get the tuners off, we'll get the neck off, and then we'll start working on that. Hello, kitty cat. The heads on these screws look slightly mashed. Not very surprisingly. Let's see what the end of the neck looks like. It's a fairly good fit in the neck pocket, which is good. Oh, there we go, nice and tight. Oh, good lord. I'll bring the camera over in a minute so you can see what it's like. Holes have been drilled in slightly random places, and then they obviously didn't work, and then more holes were drilled, and then it looks like somebody got bored and then just smashed some screws through, hoping for the best. And it didn't work. People will often say that with this sort of thing, a good way to cure it is to jam some cocktail sticks or matches and a bit of PVA in there. And that does sort of work. You do end up with having to redo it normally after a period, because unsurprisingly cocktail stick is not the most high quality wood. So what I'm going to do is drill these out to with a drill bit the same size as some dowel that I've got on the drawer behind me, which is much neater. So I mean, the dowel is like 6mm, it's fairly chunky, and glue said dowel into the hole using tight bond, let it dry for 24 hours, cut it back flush, and then sand it with a sanding block as well. And then that's basically as good as it was before it was drilled on. And then we'll put it back in there and drill the holes in the right places. If you ever want to drill holes in the right places like that, you need a set of these. Really, these are called transfer punches, and there's, as you can see, a whole load of different sizes. So what you do is you pick the one that's closest to the hole. There. That one, maybe. Well, you get the right one anyway. And then there is a little pointy bit on that end, and you can get perfectly aligned little divots that show you where you're supposed to drill, as opposed to kind of eyeballing it and then reaching for the hammer. So we'll do that. We'll get the tuners off the neck first though, and get the first coat of oil on there, and then leave it for a bit, and then probably do a few more coats. Hole cam. Close up of the holes, so you can see what's happened there, can't you? Right, Drilling, doweling, oiling, make it nice. Let's get on with it. So this is what I'm going to use to repair the holes. Dowel, drill bit, same size. What I might have to do, I think, because there's quite a bit of wood missing, or has been knackered, is drill one of the holes out, dowel it, carve it back, and then drill the other one, dowel it, carve it back, so I'll end up with two bits of wood sort of next to each other on it, because of the size of the hole, one piece of dowel doesn't quite cover it, so we'll use two bits, but that's fine. Right, let's get drilling.
Well, there's a lovely winter flowering plant comes to its in February called Edgewater. It's a relative of the Daphnes, and it has clusters of beautiful golden flowers. The flower buds are covered in silvery flowers. They're far too expensive. And then head to the GKT pages of the Radio 4 website and click Contact Us. You'll find details of how on the brink of
Dowels are in with some tight bond and a bit of light clamping. I'll leave that for an hour or two. That should be enough for it for now, and then start getting the first coats of oil on after that. The clamps are off. I won't carve these back yet though. I'm going to leave this till tomorrow for the glue to cure properly, but it's set enough to take the clamps off. So, polymerizing oil, I've gone on about this before. One very dry piece of wood here. I'm gonna apply it on most of it, partly with paper towel and partly with fairly fine sandpaper. It's 400 grit, because it gives a better finish. You get a nice kind of shiny, smooth finish. I won't do that though over the sticker, because it would just pull it straight off. So that bit will be here is going to be slightly more satiny than the rest of it. There's a really good video about this on Crimson Guitars' website, explaining how to do oil finishes. You can't just slap the stuff on and hope for the best, but there's a few little tricks that will make it come out even nicer. So the first few passes are just going to be flooding it basically with oil, letting it soak in, and then after that we'll start buffing it with the 400 grit paper to make it even shinier. And for once I'm going to remember to put some gloves on. Doesn't happen very often. First few passes in, it's sloshing it on. And you can see the colour change immediately to a much nicer colour. It's going darker, which is kind of what we want. And it's getting sucked straight into the wood, so it shows how dry it is. We'll just keep doing this basically until it stops getting sucked up super quick like that. Being kind of gentle with the transfer bit. Should be able to see the difference in the colour already, just with that first coat of oil. The bit where the dowels are being glued in, it's going to be more difficult obviously to get that bit oiled evenly, but it's going to be hidden anyway under the inside the body, so I'm not too bothered about that. Right, let's just keep chucking it on then. So the bit I'm concentrating on with the sandpaper is the back where you put your thumb and a bit of the back of the headstock, but the rest of it is going to be just wiped on with a paper towel. When you're doing this sort of thing, don't chuck your oily rags straight in the bin, because the oil can create heat as it cures. And there is a danger of your bin catching fire. So let them dry out on the wet top first before they get thrown away. Well, it's definitely a real wood grain then. I did have suspicions that maybe this had kind of been stenciled on or something, because it's such a pronounced colour difference and very dramatic. I think if it was, it would have started dissolving by now, and rubbing the sandpaper on the back of the neck certainly would have started taking it off, and it hasn't changed it at all. So it looks, yeah, it is. This is what the wood looks like. No trickery. It feels smoother on the back of the neck already. It's a bit difficult to tell with gloves, obviously. So this stuff, it doesn't just soak in and disappear, it kind of hardens, polymerizes over a fairly short space of time. So what we have to do is wait until it starts. You can feel it kind of starting to get a bit tacky after a while, and then at that point you buff it up using some dry paper towels. And that's what gives you the shiniest finish that you can do with this stuff. So you've got to keep an eye on what it's doing. It doesn't go off super quick, it's not like a few minutes, it could be half an hour or something. Once you start feeling it start to get tacky, that's when to start buffing. I'm probably going to do one more coat after this one, I think, and then I'll just keep one on it, then wait for it to go tacky. Right, that's enough for now, I think. Well, what I'm going to do is sit next to it with the radio on for a bit and occasionally poke it, and once I feel it start going tacky, I will go in with some more paper towels, dry ones, and start buffing it. Right, it's starting to go off now. You can feel a bit of resistance when you drag your finger over it, so that's the time to quickly get it like this with a clean paper towel. Let's buff it up. And it's coming up rather nicely. It feels really nice on the back now. It feels smooth. Before it felt slightly rough and dry. Now it feels, well, smooth and lovely. As I've got a bit more dabbling to do tomorrow, I'll probably repeat this whole process again because I've got time. And now that feels good. Pleased with that. There you go. Smooth. Obviously it looks a lot nicer as well now, and oil always really helps the grain to show up nicely like that, especially on any kind of grain or figure or anything like that. Before it was very pale. Lovely. Right. Leave that alone now till tomorrow and then carry on again. Plugs are in and the glue's dry. I've cut them back roughly with a flush cut saw, and I'm going to sharpen up a chisel now and shave it all back properly, nice and smooth. But the finishing's coming on rather nicely. Feels lovely and smooth. It's gonna get another coat though, and I'm gonna tidy up these fret ends a bit too because they're a little bit sharp. But first, chisel time.
Use my imagination to wonder what you were up to, who you were missing. Scream, cry, Dad, where are you? I can't breathe, it's hot, it's so June. Baba June! That fear is back, no longer home. I miss it, cooking together, talking about flowers, spices, God and politics. Singing a hate it. It's quick, so quick. I follow the woman. Mohammed looks at me, smiles, no touch, familiar, weird. I'm happy to be the body, the guard, and Mohammed, Shaheen Jafaboli, now.
That's looking a lot more structurally sound now. Certainly good enough to take some neck bolts. I'll just spread a little bit of oil over that bit, and I'm gonna give the rest of it another coat as well now, and then let it dry for another 24 hours or so, and then we can start reassembling. Neck fitting time then. I mean, it's not often that you fit a new neck, is it? But it's worth bearing a few things in mind. If you're assembling a parts caster or doing a neck swap, or you've got something that's not bolted together properly. So, first thing is, the holes in the body are supposed to be a clearance fit for the bolts. You can see that these aren't at all. You could get these bolts through by threading them through the holes in the body, but that's not what we want. We want a bit of clearance, and this goes for any kind of screwed together joint really. This one should be a clearance, and this one should be a nice thread. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge these slightly, not much, just enough so the bolt can drop through, and a little bit of wiggle room is actually desirable for this. So we'll do that first, and then we'll move on to marking on the back of the neck where the corresponding holes are going to go. I'm starting with the drill going backwards just to break the finish at the top of the hole. So then there's less chance of the drill bit, ripping chunks of it out later. New second-hand drill, by the way. Which is very nice. Holes are slightly enlarged and you can see the difference now. They just drop straight through. And like I say, a bit of wiggle room. You don't have to worry about the heads of the screws being pulled into the wood here because we've got the neck plate as well, obviously. So next step is to mark the holes on the back of the neck. This neck is actually a nice tight fit in the body, which is good. And there we have the positions of where our screws are going to go. So let's get those drilled. Suitable sized drill bit fitted. Don't be tempted to go too small, thinking that you will create a stronger thread as the screw goes into the slightly undersized hole, because it's easy to get cracks propagating from the holes when you put the screws in if the holes are too small. So also check the depth multiple times before you start drilling, and I'm using this drill guide as well to make sure I get it all vertical. Next thing I'm going to do is to cut threads into these holes before I fit the neck to the body. This is screw wax, which I made myself out of a mixture of candles and linseed oil, which I melted all together in the oven and then stirred up and let it cool, and it helps the threads on the screws to cut into the wood nice and cleanly. There you go. Neck is, for the first time, properly attached. We'll get the hardware fitted back to it now and then stick some strings on, and then I'm gonna leave it overnight before I do any more setup work, as obviously the neck's been off the body for a few days and I want it to settle back in nicely before I start adjusting. So, but I'll fit all the tuners and stuff first and then get it strung up. Here's one other neck fitting trick which you can do on all sorts of guitars. Brand new ones that have been assembled in factories often haven't had this done. And what you do is get it tuned up once it's all bolted together, and then just slacken off these. Did you hear that click then? Slacken off these bolts like a quarter of a turn each, and you'll hear some creaking and clicking coming from the neck joint. And then do them back up. And what's happening here is that the tension of the strings is pulling the neck back into the pocket and getting it to the position that it's kind of most naturally fits in. Don't have to go mad tightening these bolts up, by the way. That'll do. And once you've done that, the neck will have moved slightly into a better fit in the neck pocket, which is good. Right, setup time. Well, checking the setup at the moment, the truss rod, I say, is good. Could possibly go a tiny bit lower, but I'm going to leave it where it is for now because these are not perfect frets. I need to take the nut slots down a bit. It's not too bad. I've taken the action down to an arbitrary figure of 60 thou for now, and it actually plays quite nicely already. But let's see, we're going to do the nut slots. Check the action again, intonation, pickup height, and a quick once over after that, and then we should be pretty much good to go.
To offer private investors? What level of compensation, training or processing? And will Brussels be able to persuade EU that secure and abundant access to the stuff is essential?
Is he targeted with higher tariffs? His universal 10% levy
trading system and destabilizes global economic order.
One thing with these very pretty potatoes that haven't got any blemishes on their skins.
And we're done, I think. I've given it a full setup. Going to clip those string ends in a bit. And it plays nicely and it sounds nice. It looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I'm not sure if that's a veneer on the top or a photo flame or whatever, but it looks nice. I kind of like that orangey honey kind of colour to it. And the neck, which gave us all that hassle, also looks really cool. The oil finish on it has worked wonders. There's the back, by the way. Eye-catching, isn't it? No idea what it is, mind you. I still don't know. If anybody has any ideas, please stick something in the comments below. So that's the back of the neck, and yes, it's all playing properly now. Nice action. Intonation, the only one I couldn't get completely right, so that the low E there is right back against the back of the bridge. I think that the bridge is about 2 or 3 mil forward from where it should be, because there's also not much of a gap between the edge of the bridge and the scratch plate. So somebody may have made a boo-boo with the string, with the holes for the bridge in a bit, but yeah, I tightened that up as well. I moved the string tree over by a couple of millimeters to make it work better, but no, it's done and I like it, and it's got some character, and now it's going to play nicely as well. So parts caster's out. I always flippantly say, oh, it's a piece of piss making a parts caster, it's like making Lego or something, but there is a bit more skill into it that goes into it than that. So yeah, this one, you can go back to its owner now. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.